In a world that constantly urges us to do more, be more, and achieve more, it's easy to feel overwhelmed and lose sight of what truly matters. The endless chase for success, wealth, and recognition can cloud our minds and leave us feeling disconnected from our deeper selves. We're constantly bombarded with messages telling us that our worth is determined by external accomplishments, how much we have, how much we do, and how others perceive us. But what if true fulfillment doesn't come from accumulation or validation? What if the path to a better, more peaceful version of yourself lies in something much simpler, yet far more profound? The transformative journey to becoming your best self doesn't require you to climb higher or achieve more. It invites you to go deeper, to quiet the external noise, and to reconnect with the essence of who you truly are. And that's where the wisdom of Buddhism comes in. Buddhism, with its timeless teachings on mindfulness, compassion, and self-awareness, offers a powerful roadmap for inner transformation. These teachings aren't about achieving some distant ideal of perfection. Rather, they focus on cultivating habits that foster a deeper connection with yourself, with others, and with the world around you. Today, we're going to explore 10 transformative Buddhist habits that will guide you toward a more mindful, centered, and compassionate version of yourself. These habits aren't about striving for some unreachable state of enlightenment. They're about making small, everyday shifts that have the power to create lasting change. They will help you break free from the constant pull of external distractions and bring you back to a place of inner peace and clarity. It's so easy to get caught up in the pressure of living up to external expectations. The desire for validation, recognition, and success can often drown out the quieter, more meaningful aspects of life. But when you begin to focus on cultivating inner peace, wisdom, and strength, you start to realize that the most valuable aspects of life are those that can't be measured by external standards. True happiness, true contentment, and true fulfillment come from within. And when you tap into that inner peace, it becomes possible to navigate life's challenges with grace, clarity, and purpose. So, are you ready to begin this journey of transformation? It's time to shift your focus from external validation to inner peace. It's time to stop chasing after things that don't truly matter and instead build a solid foundation of peace within yourself. These 10 Buddhist habits are your tools for reconnecting with your inner essence, grounding yourself in the present moment, and aligning your life with the principles of mindfulness, compassion, and wisdom. By embracing these habits, you can break free from the constant distractions that pull your attention away from what's truly important. As you begin to incorporate them into your daily life, you'll notice that you start to feel more at peace, more centered, and more in tune with the world around you. The noise of the external world may still be loud at times, but you'll be better equipped to navigate it with a sense of calm, balance, and clarity. Let go of the need for external approval and start building the kind of inner strength that can weather any storm. Let go of the distractions and reconnect with the essence of who you truly are. It's time to embrace these habits and embark on a journey toward a more peaceful, mindful, and purposeful life. Let's begin this transformative journey together, one small step at a time. 1. Focusing on what's in your control. One of the most empowering habits you can develop is the ability to focus solely on what you can control. In Buddhist philosophy, the idea of detachment from the things that are beyond our control is central. Attachment to things that we cannot influence, such as the actions of others, the outcomes of situations, or the course of life, often leads to unnecessary stress and suffering. By focusing only on what you can control, your thoughts, actions, and responses to life, you reclaim your power and bring peace into your mind. Buddhism teaches us that suffering often comes from resisting the natural flow of life. By accepting that we can't control everything, we free ourselves from unnecessary anxiety. For example, you can't control how others treat you, but you can control how you respond. If someone insults you, instead of reacting angrily or defensively, you can choose to remain calm and not take their words personally. This simple shift in perspective allows you to feel at peace even when circumstances are difficult. Focusing on what's in your control builds mental clarity and emotional resilience, helping you live more peacefully and effectively. 2. Not caring what others think. One of the most liberating lessons in Buddhism, and indeed one of the most powerful tools for personal growth, is learning to let go of the need for approval from others. In a world where external validation is often seen as a measure of success, it's easy to become trapped in the cycle of seeking approval. Whether it's through the likes and comments we receive on social media, the accolades and recognition we strive for at work, or even the praise and acceptance we seek in personal relationships, we can easily fall into the trap of basing our sense of self-worth on the approval of others. Buddha's teachings remind us that this constant desire for validation, this need to be liked, accepted, and admired by others, ultimately leads to suffering. In fact, the Buddha taught that attachment to external approval is one of the primary sources of our distress. When we seek validation from the outside world, we become dependent on the opinions and judgments of others. This dependency can create a fragile sense of self, one that is constantly swayed by what others think. Our happiness becomes something we relinquish control over, and we become prisoners of external circumstances. If we're praised, we feel good about ourselves, but when we're criticized, we feel diminished. This constant emotional roller coaster creates a life that is not grounded in self-acceptance, but rather in a pursuit of fleeting validation. The good news, however, is that Buddhism offers us a path out of this cycle. The wisdom of the Buddha teaches us that true peace, true happiness, and true liberation lie not in the approval of others, but in the acceptance of ourselves as we are. The nature of external validation. At the core of the desire for validation is the need to feel seen and acknowledged. It's human nature to want to be appreciated and respected by others. But Buddhism encourages us to explore where this desire comes from and why we feel it so intensely. When we look deeply, we realize that seeking external validation stems from an underlying fear of not being enough. We fear that without the approval of others, we are incomplete or unworthy. This fear often leads to a cycle of striving for things that are ultimately beyond our control, whether it's trying to impress others, seeking praise, or chasing external accomplishments. Yet the Buddha's teachings suggest that this attachment to external validation is rooted in ignorance of our true nature, and ignorance of the inherent worth we already possess. The Buddha teaches that we are not defined by the labels others place on us, nor by the judgments they make about us. Instead, we are inherently worthy and whole, independent of anyone else's opinions. Letting go of approval and finding authenticity to become a better version of yourself, one of the most transformative things you can do is to stop worrying about what others think. This isn't to say that you should become indifferent to others or disregard their feelings, but it means you stop allowing their judgments to dictate your sense of worth. When you free yourself from the need for approval, you can begin to live authentically, guided by your own principles, values, and sense of purpose. The key to this is understanding that everyone sees the world through their own lens, shaped by their experiences, biases, and personal beliefs. When you realize that other people's opinions are influenced by their unique perspective, you begin to understand that their views are not a reflection of your intrinsic value. Their opinions may say more about them than they do about you. For instance, consider the fact that you cannot please everyone, no matter how hard you try. One person might admire your achievements, while another might criticize you for the very same things. One person might see your quiet demeanor as a sign of wisdom, while another might view it as a lack of confidence. The truth is, the opinions of others are often inconsistent and subjective. By relying on them to define our sense of self, we place our happiness in an unstable, ever-changing place. Buddhism teaches us that the essence of true freedom comes from being at peace with who we are, independent of outside judgment. When you stop seeking approval from others, you begin to listen more deeply to yourself. You begin to trust your own instincts and values. You start to live in alignment with your true nature, not with the expectations or standards imposed by others. Self-acceptance, the foundation of inner peace. One of the most important aspects of letting go of the need for approval is developing self-acceptance. This is not about becoming complacent or indifferent to growth. Instead, it's about embracing who you are right now, with all your imperfections and limitations. Self-acceptance is about recognizing your inherent worth without needing to prove anything to anyone. Buddhism encourages us to look inward and develop a compassionate relationship with ourselves. This involves letting go of the inner critic that constantly judges and compares us to others. When we stop seeking validation from the outside, we start to cultivate an unwavering sense of self-acceptance. We recognize that, just as we are enough. Nothing needs to be added to us, and nothing needs to be taken away. This practice of self-acceptance allows us to be more at peace with ourselves. Instead of looking to others for reassurance, we cultivate a deep trust in our own capabilities, qualities, and essence. We no longer define our self-worth based on external circumstances, but on the inherent wisdom and compassion within us. This internal shift brings profound inner peace. The freedom of living authentically. Once you let go of the need for approval, you begin to experience a profound freedom. This freedom is not just about doing whatever you want or rejecting all forms of external influence. Rather, it's about living in a way that feels true to who you are, without constantly seeking external validation. You begin to make choices that align with your deepest values, not with the desire to impress or win favor. Living authentically doesn't mean ignoring the feelings or needs of others. It simply means acting in ways that are congruent with your own truth. When you stop seeking approval, you'll find that you're more able to connect with others in a genuine, meaningful way. Your relationships become more authentic because you no longer feel the need to wear a mask or conform to someone else's expectations. The impact of letting go of approval on your life. Letting go of the need for approval doesn't happen overnight. It's a gradual process, one that requires patience and self-compassion. But as you continue to practice this, you'll begin to notice profound shifts in your life. Your relationships become more honest, your decisions more aligned with your values, and your overall sense of peace grows stronger. You'll find that your happiness is no longer contingent upon the opinions of others, but rooted in your own sense of self-worth. Furthermore, when you let go of the need for approval, you open yourself up to a deeper connection with the world around you. You're no longer constantly striving to be someone you're not, so you can be fully present with others. This allows for a richer, more authentic experience of life. Conclusion: embracing the wisdom of letting go. In the end, the Buddha's teachings offer us a path to true liberation, the ability to live without the constant need for approval. This doesn't mean rejecting the kindness or feedback of others. It simply means learning to recognize that our worth is not determined by the opinions of others. We are enough, just as we are. The more we let go of this need for validation, the more we open ourselves up to authentic living, self-acceptance, and true inner peace. So, as you move through your life, remember that your value is not dependent on how others perceive you. Let go of the need for external validation and instead look within. You will find a well of strength, wisdom, and peace that is always with you, waiting to be recognized, embraced, and lived. 3. Build mental strength. Mental strength in Buddhism, building resilience and inner fortitude. Mental strength is a quality often associated with toughness, the ability to withstand hardship, and a stoic, unflinching demeanor in the face of adversity. But the true essence of mental strength, particularly in the context of Buddhist teachings, is much deeper and more nuanced. It is not about suppressing your emotions or dismissing your feelings. Rather, it is about developing the resilience and inner fortitude to face life's challenges with clarity, composure, and wisdom. In a world that seems to constantly demand more from us, more productivity, more success, more happiness, it can be easy to think that mental strength means pushing through difficulties without pausing to acknowledge or process them. Yet Buddhism teaches us a different path. Life, as the Buddha taught, is inherently marked by change, suffering, and impermanence. There are going to be ups and downs, moments of joy and sorrow, peace and turmoil. We cannot avoid hardship, but we can choose how we respond to it. And this choice is where true mental strength lies. The Buddhist approach to mental strength isn't about avoiding difficult emotions or toughing it out without acknowledging our vulnerabilities. The goal is not to eliminate difficult emotions, but to cultivate the capacity to remain centered amidst them. It's about developing the resilience to face challenges with wisdom and emotional awareness, instead of letting those emotions rule us. When we can respond thoughtfully to life's difficulties rather than reacting impulsively, we create the foundation for a steady, more fulfilling existence. Understanding mental strength in the context of Buddhism. Buddhism does not view suffering as something to be avoided or fought against, but rather as an intrinsic part of the human experience. The Buddha's Four Noble Truths, the foundational teachings of Buddhism, tell us that suffering, dukkha, is a universal part of life. From the loss of loved ones to the challenges of aging, illness, or unmet desires, life inevitably involves hardship. However, the second noble truth teaches that suffering arises from our attachment to things as they are and our desire for them to be different. It is this attachment and craving, not the suffering itself, that causes us distress. So, mental strength, in Buddhist terms, is not about eliminating suffering or pretending that life is always easy or perfect. Rather, it is about cultivating a mindset that can face suffering with equanimity, the ability to remain balanced and composed in the face of life's inevitable ups and downs. It is about building the resilience to face difficult situations, not with an attitude of avoidance or suppression, but with clarity, mindfulness, and inner peace. The role of mindfulness in mental strength. To build mental strength, the practice of mindfulness is crucial. Mindfulness, which is at the heart of Buddhist practice, involves being fully present in the moment, aware of our thoughts, emotions, and physical sensations without judgment. It requires us to observe what's happening in our minds and bodies with openness and curiosity, rather than reacting to it out of habit or fear. When difficult situations arise, whether it's a stressful event at work, a conflict in a relationship, or personal setbacks, mindfulness can help us pause and take a step back. Instead of being swept away by the flood of emotions, we can practice the simple act of breathing, observing, and reflecting. Mindfulness allows us to create a space between stimulus and response. When you're faced with a challenging situation, The typical reaction is often automatic: frustration, anger, anxiety, or sadness. These emotions are natural, but left unchecked, they can cloud our judgment and lead to impulsive decisions that we may later regret. Mindfulness gives us the mental space to choose how we want to respond. Rather than reacting out of fear, anger, or desperation, we can step back, observe the situation with clarity, and make choices that are aligned with our deeper values and long-term goals. Emotional awareness and the power of reflection. Another essential component of mental strength is emotional awareness, the ability to be in tune with your emotions without being controlled by them. Buddhism teaches that emotions are natural, and trying to suppress or deny them only leads to more suffering. The key is not to push them away, but to acknowledge and understand them. When we experience difficult emotions, whether it's anxiety, sadness, anger, or fear, these feelings are not necessarily bad. They are signals, messages that something within us needs attention. Emotional awareness is about observing these emotions without judgment. We might ask ourselves questions like, what is this feeling trying to teach me? Or, what is the deeper need or fear that underlies this emotion? For instance, when we feel angry, instead of lashing out or suppressing that anger, we can take a moment to reflect on why we feel this way. Are we angry because we feel misunderstood? Are we frustrated because we feel powerless? What is the underlying fear or desire that is driving the emotion? By becoming aware of these deeper layers, we can respond to our emotions in a way that is more mindful rather than reactive. Over time, this emotional awareness allows us to build mental strength. We begin to understand that emotions are temporary, impermanent experiences that arise and pass. We don't need to act on every emotion immediately. Instead, we can simply observe, reflect, and allow the emotion to pass without letting it dominate our thoughts and actions. This ability to observe and reflect before reacting is a key aspect of mental resilience. The importance of pausing before reacting. Strengthening your mental muscle means cultivating the ability to pause before reacting. It's the act of taking a deep breath, stepping back, and giving yourself time to reflect on your thoughts and feelings. This pause is powerful. It's a moment of choice, a moment where you decide how you want to respond rather than reacting out of impulse. This pause is not about suppressing your emotions, but about giving yourself the space to respond mindfully. Often, when we react impulsively, we act from a place of fear, frustration, or insecurity, and our responses are often clouded by those emotions. By taking a moment to breathe and reflect, we create an opportunity to respond with wisdom, compassion, and clarity. In Buddhist meditation practices, particularly those involving mindfulness and concentration, we are taught to observe thoughts and feelings without attachment. The goal is not to force ourselves into a calm state, but to simply observe what is arising in the mind and body without judgment. This practice helps us build the capacity to pause and observe our inner world in daily life. Over time, this ability to step back from our impulses creates a steady and resilient mind, one that can respond to life's challenges with balance and equanimity. Equanimity, the heart of mental strength. One of the key qualities that Buddhism cultivates in the practitioner is equanimity, the ability to remain balanced and composed, regardless of external circumstances. Equanimity does not mean indifference or emotional detachment. Rather, it means maintaining a sense of inner stability in the face of life's inevitable fluctuations. When we develop equanimity, we are less likely to be thrown off course by life's challenges. Instead of becoming overwhelmed by difficulties, we can meet them with a sense of calmness and clarity. Equanimity allows us to experience emotions without being controlled by them. It is the foundation of mental strength, the ability to remain grounded even in the midst of turmoil. Over time, as you practice mindfulness and emotional awareness, you will find that you can handle life's challenges with greater ease. You may not be able to control the external circumstances, but you can control your inner response. The more you practice, the more you will cultivate the mental strength to navigate life's ups and downs with equanimity and resilience. Conclusion: building lasting mental strength. Mental strength in the Buddhist sense is not about ignoring or suppressing your emotions. It's about developing the resilience to face challenges with mindfulness, emotional awareness, and wisdom. It's about creating the space to pause, reflect, and respond thoughtfully rather than reacting impulsively. By practicing mindfulness, cultivating emotional awareness, and fostering equanimity, we can build mental strength that allows us to face life's difficulties with composure, clarity, and inner peace. Over time, this mental strength transforms the way we engage with the world. We no longer react from a place of fear or insecurity, but from a place of wisdom and inner calm. This is the true power of mental strength, the ability to stay centered amidst the storm and to face life with resilience and grace. Embracing obstacles as opportunities. Embracing obstacles as opportunities. A Buddhist perspective on growth and resilience. In the fast-paced, success-driven world we live in, obstacles are often seen as unwelcome disruptions, something to avoid or overcome as quickly as possible. We view challenges as hindrances to our progress, roadblocks that stand in the way of our goals and aspirations. The language of modern life often reflects this attitude, with phrases like overcoming obstacles or breaking through barriers, suggesting that obstacles are simply things to be conquered and left behind. However, in Buddhism, the approach to obstacles is profoundly different. Buddhist teachings invite us to see obstacles not as things to avoid or fear, but as opportunities for growth, learning, and transformation. Life in its very nature is filled with challenges. They are inevitable, and no one is exempt from them. Yet, rather than running from them or resisting them, Buddhism encourages us to face them with mindfulness and openness, knowing that each challenge has the potential to teach us something valuable. In fact, the obstacles we encounter in life are seen as essential moments on the path to personal and spiritual development. They are opportunities to deepen our understanding, cultivate patience, and strengthen our inner resolve. The Buddhist view of obstacles, part of the natural flow of life. In Buddhism, suffering and obstacles are viewed as inherent parts of the human experience. The Buddha's first noble truth, the truth of suffering, dukkha, reminds us that life is full of difficulties, sickness, aging, loss, and dissatisfaction. While we may try to avoid these challenges, Buddhism teaches us that it is not the presence of obstacles that causes suffering, but rather our resistance to them. When we resist or fight against life's inevitable difficulties, we create additional suffering for ourselves. Instead of viewing obstacles as negative, Buddhist teachings encourage us to embrace them as integral parts of our journey. They are not random or meaningless events. They are opportunities to cultivate qualities such as wisdom, patience, and compassion. The Buddha often spoke of suffering as the very ground for awakening. In this way, obstacles are not seen as roadblocks, but as stepping stones to deeper insight and personal growth. Each challenge has the potential to lead us to a greater understanding of ourselves, of others, and of the nature of reality itself. Transforming our perspective. Obstacles as teachers. The first step in transforming how we perceive obstacles is to shift our mindset. Instead of seeing challenges as obstacles to avoid, we can learn to view them as teachers. Every challenge, whether big or small, holds a lesson for us if we are open to receiving it. When faced with an obstacle, we can pause and reflect. What is this situation trying to teach me? This shift in perspective allows us to move from a mindset of frustration and resistance to one of curiosity and learning. We may not always know what the lesson is immediately, but with mindfulness, we can begin to explore what the challenge is offering us. For example, if we encounter a difficult situation at work, a project that is going wrong, or a conflict with a colleague, we might feel overwhelmed or stressed. But if we approach the situation with the mindset of a learner, we can ask ourselves, what is this situation teaching me about my patience? Perhaps it is an opportunity to practice staying calm under pressure or to develop better communication skills. Or maybe it is showing us the areas in which we need to grow, such as our ability to handle criticism or to work collaboratively. Obstacles, when seen through the lens of Buddhism, are not things that should break us, but experiences that can help us become more whole and wise. When we stop seeing challenges as threats, we free ourselves from the anxiety and fear that often accompany them. Instead, we can approach each situation with a sense of acceptance, knowing that the obstacle is a natural part of our growth. The role of mindfulness in embracing obstacles. Mindfulness plays a crucial role in our ability to see obstacles as opportunities. Mindfulness is the practice of being fully present in the moment, observing our thoughts, emotions, and sensations without judgment. When we are mindful, we can step back from our habitual reactions and observe the situation with clarity. When facing a difficult situation or obstacle, our first instinct might be to react quickly, either by becoming defensive, angry, or frustrated, or by withdrawing into anxiety or fear. Mindfulness allows us to pause before reacting, creating space for us to reflect on the situation and how we want to respond. In that moment of stillness, we can ask ourselves questions like, what is this situation trying to teach me? Or, what would a wise person do in this situation? Rather than being swept away by emotions or impulses, mindfulness helps us respond thoughtfully and with intention. This mindful response is what allows us to turn obstacles into opportunities. Instead of getting stuck in frustration or self-pity, we can move toward acceptance and action, knowing that the challenge holds the potential for growth. Patience, compassion, and letting go, key qualities in overcoming obstacles. Buddhism teaches that every obstacle provides us with the opportunity to develop and deepen certain virtues. Among these are patience, compassion, and non-attachment, which are essential tools for navigating life's challenges. 1. Patience. Often, the most immediate reaction to an obstacle is frustration or impatience. We want things to go smoothly, and when they don't, we experience discomfort. However, Buddhism teaches us that patience is not just about waiting passively, but about cultivating the ability to remain calm and composed in the face of difficulty. Practicing patience allows us to face challenges with grace, knowing that not everything unfolds according to our timeline or desires. Patience helps us endure hardships without rushing through them, allowing us to learn the lessons they offer. 2. Compassion. Obstacles can also teach us the importance of compassion, both for ourselves and others. When we encounter difficulties, we often criticize ourselves or become self-critical. We may feel like failures or feel that we are not enough. However, Buddhism reminds us that we are all human and we all face difficulties. By cultivating compassion, we can be kinder to ourselves during tough times, recognizing that suffering is part of the shared human experience. Furthermore, when we approach obstacles with compassion for others, we learn to be more understanding and empathetic, particularly when others are also facing challenges. 3. Non-attachment. Perhaps one of the most profound lessons that obstacles can teach us is the practice of non-attachment. Often our suffering comes from our attachment to how we think things should be. We may have expectations or desires for how situations should unfold, and when things don't go as planned, we experience frustration or disappointment. Buddhism teaches us that attachment to outcomes leads to suffering because life is constantly changing. By practicing non-attachment, we can learn to flow with life's uncertainties, accepting each moment as it comes and learning from it rather than fighting against it. The path to resilience, growing stronger through challenges. Over time, as we practice viewing obstacles as opportunities, we begin to develop greater resilience. Resilience, in the Buddhist sense, is not about bouncing back to where we were before, but about growing stronger and wiser through our experiences. Each challenge becomes a tool for building mental and emotional strength. When we face difficulties with the mindset of learning and growth, we develop a deeper understanding of ourselves and our capacity to handle adversity. With each obstacle, we become more capable of navigating future challenges. Instead of seeing obstacles as something to be feared or avoided, we begin to see them as part of the natural ebb and flow of life, a process that shapes us into stronger, more compassionate beings. Conclusion: life's challenges as pathways to growth. In the Buddhist worldview, obstacles are not enemies to be defeated, but teachers to be embraced. Every difficulty we encounter carries within it the potential to transform us if we approach it with mindfulness, patience, compassion, and wisdom. When we stop viewing obstacles as roadblocks and start seeing them as opportunities for growth, we stop fearing them. Instead, we start to welcome them as essential parts of our personal and spiritual development. With each challenge we face, we grow stronger, more compassionate, and wiser. Obstacles become pathways, leading us to a deeper understanding of ourselves and the world around us. Life's toughest moments are not the end of the road, but turning points on the journey to greater resilience, insight, and peace. The more we embrace obstacles with openness and acceptance, the more we transform our lives into a continual process of growth and awakening. Building self-discipline. The power of self-discipline in Buddhism. Cultivating focus, alignment, and balance. Self-discipline is a fundamental principle in Buddhism, serving as the foundation for living a life that is aligned with our highest values. It's often said that discipline is the bridge between goals and accomplishment, but in the Buddhist context, it is much more than simply a means to achieve external success. It is about cultivating the inner strength and commitment to live in a way that honors our deepest truths and fosters peace, wisdom, and compassion. In a world full of distractions, external pressures, and fleeting desires, it's easy to lose sight of our values or to be pulled off course by the chaos around us. We may set intentions for our lives, but then find ourselves repeatedly sidetracked by temptations, emotional impulses, or unproductive habits. Whether it's the allure of instant gratification, the distractions of modern technology, or the pull of negative thought patterns, it's easy to feel like we are constantly fighting against forces outside of our control. Yet, Buddhism teaches that self-discipline is not about rigid control or suppression. It is about consciously choosing to live in harmony with our higher purpose, regardless of the external circumstances that arise. Self-discipline as a path to inner freedom. At first glance, self-discipline might seem like a restrictive or confining concept. In a society that often prioritizes instant gratification and personal freedom above all else, the idea of self-discipline might appear counterintuitive. After all, how can self-discipline lead to freedom? Isn't freedom about doing whatever we want, whenever we want? The paradox of self-discipline is that it actually creates the conditions for true freedom. In Buddhist teachings, True freedom isn't the absence of responsibility or restraint, but the ability to act with intention, clarity, and purpose. It's the freedom that comes from overcoming the habitual impulses and distractions that often govern our behavior. When we live without self-discipline, we become slaves to our desires and emotions, constantly reacting to external triggers without a deeper sense of control. In contrast, self-discipline allows us to make choices that reflect our highest values, rather than being swept away by the currents of habit, desire, or societal pressure. Buddhism teaches that the path to inner freedom is paved with mindfulness, self-control, and ethical conduct. Through self-discipline, we create the space for a more meaningful and purposeful life, one in which we are less driven by external circumstances and more aligned with our true nature. The practice of self-discipline, then, is not about controlling ourselves for the sake of restriction, but about choosing to live consciously and authentically. Ethical foundations, the 5 precepts as a guide for discipline. In Buddhism, ethical conduct provides the framework for cultivating self-discipline. The 5 precepts, a set of basic moral guidelines, are central to Buddhist practice. They encourage us to act with kindness, mindfulness, and wisdom in our relationships with others and ourselves. The 5 precepts are: 1. To refrain from killing or causing harm. 2. To refrain from stealing or taking what is not freely given. 3. To refrain from sexual misconduct. 4. To refrain from false speech. 5. To refrain from intoxicants that cloud the mind. While these guidelines may seem like rules to follow, their deeper purpose is to help us cultivate a life of discipline that fosters peace and reduces suffering. When we commit to following the 5 precepts, we aren't simply avoiding certain behaviors. We are intentionally choosing to live in a way that honors the dignity of ourselves and others. Self-discipline in Buddhism is about recognizing the impact of our actions, speech, and thoughts on our well-being and the well-being of others. For example, the precept to refrain from killing or causing harm isn't just about physical violence. It's about developing the discipline to act with compassion in all areas of life, avoiding harm to ourselves, others, and the environment. Similarly, the precept to refrain from intoxicants highlights the importance of mental clarity. The discipline of avoiding substances that cloud the mind supports mindfulness, helping us maintain awareness and wisdom in every moment. The 5 precepts, then, aren't about adhering to strict rules in a punitive sense, but about cultivating an ethical framework that allows us to live with integrity and clarity. In this way, self-discipline becomes a pathway to greater wisdom, compassion, and understanding. Self-discipline as a practice, not a perfection. One of the key teachings of Buddhism is that we are all imperfect beings, and our practice is about progress, not perfection. Developing self-discipline doesn't mean becoming flawless or rigid in our behavior. It's about cultivating habits and routines that support our spiritual growth. It's important to remember that self-discipline is a practice that evolves over time. There will be moments when we fall short, when we give in to temptation or lose sight of our intentions. This is completely normal and part of the process. Buddhism encourages us to approach ourselves with compassion in these moments, rather than judgment or self-criticism. If we slip up, we don't need to beat ourselves up or abandon our practice altogether. Instead, we return to our intention and make a conscious effort to do better moving forward. This gentle approach allows us to build self-discipline without falling into the trap of perfectionism, which can often create more stress and self-doubt. One of the most powerful aspects of self-discipline in Buddhism is the idea of consistency. We don't have to commit to major changes all at once. Instead, we begin with small, manageable steps and build from there. The key is consistency, committing to our practice each day, even if it's only for a short period of time. Whether it's committing to a daily meditation practice, refraining from negative self-talk, or taking time each day for mindful reflection, small actions taken consistently have the power to transform our lives. Practical ways to cultivate self-discipline. Self-discipline in Buddhism isn't about following rigid rules. It's about creating habits that help us stay grounded and aligned with our inner truth. Here are a few simple practices to help you cultivate self-discipline in your life. 1. Start a daily meditation practice. One of the most powerful ways to develop self-discipline is through meditation. Meditation not only helps to center the mind, but also strengthens our ability to stay focused and present. Start with a simple practice, such as sitting for 5 to 10 minutes each morning, focusing on your breath. Over time, you can gradually increase the duration and explore other types of meditation, such as mindfulness or loving-kindness, metta meditation. By committing to a daily meditation practice, you create a foundation of mental discipline that can support you throughout the day. 2. Practice mindful eating and living. In Buddhism, mindfulness is a central practice, and it can be applied to all aspects of life, including eating and daily activities. Mindful eating involves being fully present while eating, paying attention to the taste, texture, and nourishment of the food. This simple practice helps cultivate self-discipline by bringing awareness to your actions and decisions. You can also apply mindfulness to other daily activities, whether it's walking, working, or interacting with others, by fully engaging in the present moment, rather than rushing through tasks or succumbing to distractions. When we declutter our lives, physically and mentally, we create the space to reconnect with our deeper self. In this space, we can begin to explore what truly matters to us, what brings us joy, and what our deeper purpose is. By simplifying, we free ourselves from the distractions that prevent us from hearing our inner voice. Living simply also leads to greater fulfillment. As we become more attuned to our own desires and values, we begin to make choices that align with our true self, rather than with societal expectations or external pressures. This alignment brings a sense of peace and satisfaction, as we no longer feel pulled in multiple directions by the need for approval or validation. Conclusion: the freedom of simplicity. Simplicity, as taught in Buddhism, is not about deprivation or renunciation in the conventional sense. It is about eliminating the unnecessary to make space for the things that truly nourish our souls. By simplifying our physical environment, letting go of mental clutter, and focusing on what is truly important, we create a life that is more peaceful, purposeful, and fulfilled. Simplicity leads to freedom, the freedom to live in alignment with our true self, to be present in the moment, and to experience joy in the small, everyday things. It is a path to liberation from the cycle of desire, the pressure of external expectations, and the distractions that pull us away from our true nature. In simplicity, we find peace, purpose, and contentment. 7. Give without expectation. The transformative power of generosity and releasing negative thoughts in Buddhism. In the heart of Buddhist teachings lies a profound understanding of how our inner world shapes our outer reality. Two of the most transformative practices that Buddhism emphasizes are generosity and the release of negative thoughts. These practices offer powerful ways to shift our mindset, cultivate compassion, and ultimately free ourselves from the suffering that arises from attachment and mental unrest. Generosity, when practiced selflessly, and the ability to release negative thoughts open pathways to inner peace and interconnectedness with all beings. In this extended exploration, we will dive deep into the Buddhist wisdom surrounding these practices and how they can be life-changing. Generosity in Buddhism, more than just giving generosity, or dana in Sanskrit and Pali, is one of the foundational virtues in Buddhism. However, it is often misunderstood in modern contexts as merely the act of giving material possessions. In truth, Buddhist generosity transcends the physical act of giving. It is a mindset, a way of living that is rooted in the cultivation of selflessness, kindness, and compassion. True generosity is an act of the heart, performed without expectation of anything in return. It is a practice that transforms both the giver and the receiver, creating a sense of interconnectedness and deep compassion for all beings. Giving without expectation, a path to selflessness. At the core of Buddhist generosity is the concept of giving without attachment to the outcome. It is easy to give when we expect something in return, whether it be gratitude, recognition, or a feeling of personal accomplishment. However, Buddhism teaches that attachment to the results of our actions, especially in the realm of generosity, leads to suffering. When we give with the expectation of receiving something back, we bind ourselves to the outcome, creating an attachment that will inevitably lead to disappointment if the desired response doesn't materialize. In contrast, true generosity arises from a place of unconditional kindness. It is the act of giving simply because it feels right, without concern for any material or emotional reward. The Buddha taught that attachment to outcomes disturbs our peace of mind, and to free ourselves from this disturbance, we must learn to give selflessly. When you give without expectation, your act of generosity is its own reward. This is liberating because it allows you to let go of the ego's desire for recognition and validation, allowing you to experience the true joy of giving. Shifting from a mindset of scarcity to one of abundance generosity is also deeply connected to our mindset. In a world where scarcity often dominates our thinking, whether it be in terms of money, time, or emotional energy, generosity is a powerful antidote. When we give without expecting anything in return, we shift from a mindset of scarcity, which is rooted in fear and self-protection, to one of abundance, which is rooted in trust and openness. The act of giving becomes an affirmation that there is always enough to go around. This shift in mindset is liberating. Instead of holding tightly to what we have out of fear that there won't be enough, we begin to trust in the abundance of the universe. We learn to let go of the need to hoard or possess, and instead we open ourselves up to a continuous flow of love, compassion, and peace. The more we give, the more we cultivate this sense of abundance, both internally and externally. Generosity extends beyond material possessions. Generosity, in its purest form, is not limited to material possessions. It can also extend to our time, attention, and emotional energy. Offering a kind word to someone in need, listening deeply to a friend, or spending time with a loved one without the expectation of receiving anything in return are all acts of generosity. In Buddhism, generosity is seen as a way to purify the mind and the heart, to break free from selfishness, and to nurture a spirit of compassion. When we give our time and attention freely, without distraction or expectation, we not only enrich the lives of others, but also strengthen our own capacity for presence and mindfulness. Giving without expectation allows us to align with the deepest qualities of our heart, qualities such as love, patience, and empathy. These qualities, when nurtured through selfless giving, create a deep connection between ourselves and others, fostering unity and harmony. Generosity as a practice of letting go of attachment. In Buddhism, attachment is viewed as one of the primary causes of suffering. Whether we are attached to our possessions, our relationships, or even our ideas of how life should be, attachment binds us to the world in ways that perpetuate dissatisfaction and suffering. Generosity, when practiced authentically, is an antidote to attachment. It encourages us to let go of our attachments to material things and to offer freely without any expectation of return. When we give selflessly, we are reminded that the material world is transient and our true happiness does not lie in what we possess. The act of giving allows us to practice detachment, letting go of the ego's grip on possessions and experiences. This practice of letting go is an essential part of the Buddhist path, as it enables us to break free from the cycle of craving and attachment that leads to suffering. Generosity and balance. It is important to note that generosity, in the Buddhist context, should not lead to self-sacrifice or burnout. Generosity arises from a place of inner peace and contentment, not from a place of obligation or guilt. True giving comes when we are centered and able to give without depleting our own energy. If we give from a place of exhaustion or resentment, we are not practicing true generosity. Instead, we are simply feeding the ego's desire to appear generous. Generosity is about creating a healthy balance between self-care and care for others. It is not about giving until we have nothing left to give. Rather, it is about giving from a place of abundance and inner peace, where the act of giving does not drain us, but replenishes us. When we give from this place, the cycle of giving and receiving becomes effortless, creating harmony both within ourselves and with the world around us. Releasing negative thoughts, a path to mental clarity and peace. Negative thoughts, whether they arise from self-doubt, anger, fear, or jealousy, are an ever-present challenge for many of us. In Buddhism, the mind is considered to be both the source of suffering and the source of liberation. Negative thoughts can cloud our perception, limit our potential, and perpetuate feelings of dissatisfaction and unhappiness. However, Buddhism also offers a transformative path for dealing with these negative thoughts. By learning to release them, we can create space for peace, clarity, and wisdom. The power of mindfulness in releasing negative thoughts. The first step in releasing negative thoughts is to become aware of them. Negative thoughts often arise automatically without our conscious awareness. They can be subtle, like the inner critic telling us that we're not good enough, or more intense, such as feelings of anger or resentment toward others. In Buddhism, the practice of mindfulness is central to breaking free from the grip of negative thoughts. Mindfulness teaches us to observe our thoughts as they arise, without judgment or attachment. This means acknowledging negative thoughts without allowing them to define us or dictate our emotional state. When you notice negative thoughts, simply observe them, recognize them for what they are, passing mental events, and then let them go. It's like watching clouds float across the sky. They come and go, but you don't have to be caught up in them. Understanding thoughts as impermanent. One of the core teachings of Buddhism is the impermanence of all things, and this includes our thoughts. Just because a negative thought arises in our mind doesn't mean it is true or permanent. Thoughts are fleeting and often influenced by our emotions, past experiences, or external circumstances. They do not define us. By practicing mindfulness, we learn to see thoughts for what they are, impermanent mental phenomena that have no inherent power unless we give them attention and significance. 3. Refrain from negative self-talk. Another way to practice self-discipline is by cultivating positive, supportive thoughts. Negative self-talk can undermine our confidence and create unnecessary mental suffering. Instead of criticizing yourself when things go wrong, practice compassion and encourage yourself to learn from the experience. You might try using affirmations or journaling to remind yourself of your strengths and values. Over time, this practice can help you develop a more disciplined mind, one that is focused on growth, not self-doubt. 4. Create a routine that supports your well-being. Self-discipline is often about creating structures in your life that support your mental, physical, and emotional well-being. This could involve creating a morning routine that sets the tone for your day, establishing healthy habits such as regular exercise or sleep, or setting boundaries around work and leisure time. By developing a routine that prioritizes balance and well-being, you align your daily actions with your higher values. The transformative power of self-discipline. When practiced consistently, self-discipline becomes a natural part of who we are. It shapes the way we think, speak, and act, guiding us to make decisions that reflect our true values. As we cultivate self-discipline, we find that we no longer feel as though we are at the mercy of external circumstances or fleeting desires. Instead, we become more centered, more focused, and more capable of living with intention. Self-discipline in Buddhism is not about rigid control or perfectionism. It is about living with awareness, integrity, and compassion, creating habits that reflect our highest values and lead us toward greater wisdom, peace, and balance. As we develop self-discipline, we not only become more focused and intentional in our actions, but we also experience greater freedom, the freedom that comes from living a life aligned with our deepest truths. 6. Live simply. The power of simplicity in Buddhism, creating space for what truly matters. In today's fast-paced, consumer-driven world, we are constantly encouraged to accumulate more possessions, more achievements, more recognition. We live in a society that often equates happiness with success, and success with acquiring more. Yet in Buddhism, simplicity is seen as a path not just to happiness, but to liberation. It is a profound invitation to strip away the distractions, possessions, and mental clutter that prevent us from experiencing true peace, clarity, and presence in our lives. Living simply, as understood in Buddhism, isn't about deprivation or living with nothing. Rather, it is about eliminating the unnecessary, both in the external world and within our minds, to create space for what truly matters. Simplicity is a radical act of returning to the core of who we are, a return to presence, mindfulness, and deeper connection with ourselves and the world around us. By simplifying our lives, we not only experience greater joy and contentment, but we also cultivate freedom from the cycle of desire, which the Buddha taught is the root of suffering. Simplicity as liberation. Buddhism teaches that desire is at the heart of human suffering. It is through our attachment to things, whether they are material possessions, achievements, or even specific outcomes, that we experience dissatisfaction. We mistakenly believe that acquiring more will lead to happiness, yet this cycle of constant wanting often leaves us feeling empty, restless, or unfulfilled. The Buddha's teachings on the Four Noble Truths make it clear: suffering arises from desire, and the way to end suffering is to let go of attachment. To live simply is to stop feeding into the cycle of desire and accumulation. It is to break free from the belief that happiness is found outside of ourselves. True peace and contentment are cultivated when we let go of the belief that we need more things, more recognition, more success in order to be happy. When we simplify our lives, we let go of the constant noise and clutter that distracts us from the present moment. We create space for mindfulness, where we can experience life more fully and deeply. Instead of seeking fulfillment in external possessions or achievements, we learn to find it within ourselves. By simplifying, we make room for peace, clarity, and a deeper connection to the present moment, the place where true joy resides. Physical decluttering, creating space for peace. One of the most immediate ways we can begin to live more simply is by decluttering our physical space. We live in an age of excess, where more is always considered better. Our homes, our offices, and even our minds are often filled with things, material possessions, to-do lists and tasks that we think we need, but which only serve to distract us from what is most important. In Buddhism, physical clutter is seen not just as a hindrance to organization, but as a form of mental distraction. When we are surrounded by unnecessary items, they pull our attention away from the present moment and onto the clutter itself. We may feel overwhelmed by the sheer number of things we own, and this sense of overwhelm can create stress and anxiety. Living simply begins with an intentional process of letting go. It is about evaluating our possessions, what truly serves us, what adds value to our lives, and what is simply taking up space, physically, mentally, and emotionally. The act of decluttering is not about rigid minimalism for the sake of minimalism, but about creating an environment that supports peace, clarity, and mindfulness. When we begin to simplify our physical surroundings, we may find that our minds begin to clear as well. A decluttered home creates a more peaceful and calm space for reflection, meditation, and connection with others. In this environment, we can focus on what truly matters. Whether it's spending time with loved ones, engaging in meaningful work, or cultivating spiritual practices. Our external environment reflects our internal state, and by simplifying our surroundings, we create the conditions for greater mental and emotional clarity. Mental decluttering. Letting go of unnecessary thoughts. While physical decluttering is an important first step, true simplicity also involves mental decluttering. Our minds, much like our homes, can become overwhelmed with unnecessary thoughts, worries, and desires. In Buddhism, it is taught that much of our suffering arises from the constant cycle of thinking, particularly thoughts driven by greed, envy, or fear. Many of us are caught in a perpetual stream of desires and anxieties. We worry about the future, regret the past, and obsess over things we cannot control. Our minds are often full of what-ifs, shoulds, and maybes. These thoughts create a constant state of mental clutter, clouding our ability to experience the present moment with clarity and peace. Buddhism offers a way to quiet the mind through mindfulness and meditation. Mindfulness involves bringing our attention to the present moment, observing our thoughts and emotions without judgment or attachment. In this practice, we learn to let go of the constant stream of thoughts that often dominate our minds. Instead of getting caught up in worries or desires, we simply observe them as they arise, without reacting or clinging to them. Living simply in the mental sense means letting go of the endless cycle of thinking, driven by desire and fear. It's about breaking the habit of always wanting more, or worrying about things that haven't happened yet. Instead, it's about grounding ourselves in the present moment and learning to be content with what we have right now. This mental decluttering doesn't mean that we stop striving for improvement or growth. Rather, it means we stop attaching our happiness to the future or to things outside of our control. By focusing on the present moment, we create space for mindfulness, gratitude, and acceptance. We stop rushing from one thing to the next, always in pursuit of the next achievement or possession. Instead, we learn to savor the beauty of each moment as it is. The beauty of simplicity, finding joy in the present moment. When we embrace simplicity, we create the conditions for a deeper connection with life itself. In Buddhism, joy is not found in external possessions or achievements, but in our ability to be present and appreciative of what we already have. Living simply allows us to experience life in its purest form. In a simpler life, we begin to notice the small things that we often overlook: the feel of the sun on our skin, the sound of birds singing, the rustle of leaves in the wind, or the smile of a loved one. These moments, though small, are rich with beauty and meaning. When we simplify our lives, we become more attuned to these simple pleasures. We stop rushing past them in pursuit of something bigger or better, and begin to find joy in the quiet moments of everyday life. Simplicity also helps us reconnect with our deeper sense of purpose and meaning. When we remove the distractions and clutter, we can more clearly hear the voice of our own heart. In the silence, we begin to listen to our inner wisdom, our authentic desires, and our true values. We stop living for the approval of others, and we begin living for ourselves. We learn to follow our own path and trust in our own inner truth. This shift from external validation to inner peace is one of the most powerful benefits of simplicity. When we no longer need to impress others or chase after fleeting desires, we become more content with who we are and what we have. We realize that true happiness doesn't come from acquiring more. It comes from being fully present with what is. Simplicity as a path to self-discovery. In Buddhism, simplicity is seen as a path to self-discovery and enlightenment. In this way, mindfulness helps us detach from the negative thoughts that arise rather than identifying with them. This is liberating because it allows us to recognize that we have the power to choose how we respond to our thoughts. Rather than being controlled by them, we can let them pass and return to a more peaceful and balanced state of mind. Replacing negative thoughts with positive ones. Releasing negative thoughts does not mean ignoring or suppressing them. It means acknowledging them and then shifting our focus to more positive, constructive, and supportive thoughts. For example, if we catch ourselves thinking, "I'm not good enough," we can replace that thought with, "I am capable, I am worthy, and I am growing." In Buddhism, this practice is part of cultivating right thought, which is one of the components of the Noble Eightfold Path. Right thought involves nurturing thoughts that are aligned with wisdom, compassion, and non-harm. It's about consciously choosing to let go of thoughts that fuel fear, hatred, or jealousy, and instead cultivating thoughts that promote peace, understanding, and love. By adopting right thought, we begin to transform our minds from negative and limiting patterns to ones that support our well-being, growth, and inner peace. Meditation as a tool for releasing negative thoughts. One of the most effective tools for releasing negative thoughts is meditation. Meditation allows us to quiet the mind, create distance from our thoughts, and observe them without attachment. Regular meditation practice helps to create a mental space where we can observe negative thoughts with clarity without becoming consumed by them. As we meditate, we learn to respond to negative thoughts with greater equanimity. We begin to see that these thoughts are not permanent or definitive, and they do not have the power to shape our emotions or actions unless we allow them to. Over time, this practice of meditation builds mental resilience, making it easier to let go of negative thoughts when they arise. Letting go of limiting beliefs. Negative thoughts are often rooted in deeper limiting beliefs, beliefs that we hold about ourselves or the world. These beliefs may be based on past experiences, fears, or societal conditioning. In Buddhism, the practice of right understanding helps us to recognize and challenge these limiting beliefs. We come to see that these beliefs are not ultimate truths, but rather stories that we have been telling ourselves. By questioning these limiting beliefs and reframing our perspective, we can release the hold they have over us. As we let go of these beliefs, we create space for new, more empowering thoughts to emerge. This process of mental liberation is at the heart of the Buddhist path, as it leads us toward greater freedom, peace, and self-realization. Conclusion: generosity and releasing negative thoughts as pathways to liberation. Generosity and the release of negative thoughts are not just practices in Buddhism, they are transformative ways of being that lead us to a deeper understanding of ourselves and the world around us. By practicing generosity without expectation, we let go of attachment, cultivate compassion, and create a sense of abundance in our lives. By releasing negative thoughts through mindfulness, we free ourselves from the grip of suffering and create space for peace, clarity, and wisdom. Together, these practices offer a powerful path towards spiritual growth and liberation. They teach us to move beyond the ego's desires, to cultivate a heart full of compassion and selflessness, and to live with greater awareness and presence. Through generosity and the release of negative thoughts, we find a profound sense of inner peace that ripples out into the world, creating harmony, connection, and joy for all beings. The transformative power of generosity and releasing negative thoughts in Buddhism. In the heart of Buddhist teachings lies a profound understanding of how our inner world shapes our outer reality. Two of the most transformative practices that Buddhism emphasizes are generosity and the release of negative thoughts. These practices offer powerful ways to shift our mindset, cultivate compassion, and ultimately free ourselves from the suffering that arises from attachment and mental unrest. Generosity, when practiced selflessly, and the ability to release negative thoughts, open pathways to inner peace and interconnectedness with all beings. In this extended exploration, we will dive deep into the Buddhist wisdom surrounding these practices and how they can be life-changing. Generosity in Buddhism, more than just giving. Generosity, or dana in Sanskrit and Pali, is one of the foundational virtues in Buddhism. However, it is often misunderstood in modern contexts as merely the act of giving material possessions. In truth, Buddhist generosity transcends the physical act of giving. It is a mindset, a way of living that is rooted in the cultivation of selflessness, kindness, and compassion. True generosity is an act of the heart, performed without expectation of anything in return. It is a practice that transforms both the giver and the receiver, creating a sense of interconnectedness and deep compassion for all beings. Giving without expectation, a path to selflessness. At the core of Buddhist generosity is the concept of giving without attachment to the outcome. It is easy to give when we expect something in return, whether it be gratitude, recognition, or a feeling of personal accomplishment. However, Buddhism teaches that attachment to the results of our actions, especially in the realm of generosity, leads to suffering. When we give with the expectation of receiving something back, we bind ourselves to the outcome, creating an attachment that will inevitably lead to disappointment if the desired response doesn't materialize. In contrast, true generosity arises from a place of unconditional kindness. It is the act of giving simply because it feels right, without concern for any material or emotional reward. The Buddha taught that attachment to outcomes disturbs our peace of mind, and to free ourselves from this disturbance, we must learn to give selflessly. When you give without expectation, your act of generosity is its own reward. This is liberating because it allows you to let go of the ego's desire for recognition and validation, allowing you to experience the true joy of giving. Shifting from a mindset of scarcity to one of abundance generosity is also deeply connected to our mindset. In a world where scarcity often dominates our thinking, whether it be in terms of money, time, or emotional energy, generosity is a powerful antidote. When we give without expecting anything in return, we shift from a mindset of scarcity, which is rooted in fear and self-protection, to one of abundance, which is rooted in trust and openness. The act of giving becomes an affirmation that there is always enough to go around. This shift in mindset is liberating. Instead of holding tightly to what we have out of fear that there won't be enough, We begin to trust in the abundance of the universe. We learn to let go of the need to hoard or possess, and instead we open ourselves up to a continuous flow of love, compassion, and peace. The more we give, the more we cultivate this sense of abundance, both internally and externally. Generosity extends beyond material possessions. Generosity, in its purest form, is not limited to material possessions. It can also extend to our time, attention, and emotional energy. Offering a kind word to someone in need, listening deeply to a friend, or spending time with a loved one without the expectation of receiving anything in return are all acts of generosity. In Buddhism, generosity is seen as a way to purify the mind and the heart, to break free from selfishness, and to nurture a spirit of compassion. When we give our time and attention freely, without distraction or expectation, we not only enrich the lives of others, but also strengthen our own capacity for presence and mindfulness. Giving without expectation allows us to align with the deepest qualities of our heart, qualities such as love, patience, and empathy. These qualities, when nurtured through selfless giving, create a deep connection between ourselves and others, fostering unity and harmony. Generosity as a practice of letting go of attachment. In Buddhism, attachment is viewed as one of the primary causes of suffering. Whether we are attached to our possessions, our relationships, or even our ideas of how life should be, attachment binds us to the world in ways that perpetuate dissatisfaction and suffering. Generosity, when practiced authentically, is an antidote to attachment. It encourages us to let go of our attachments to material things and to offer freely without any expectation of return. When we give selflessly, we are reminded that the material world is transient and our true happiness does not lie in what we possess. The act of giving allows us to practice detachment, letting go of the ego's grip on possessions and experiences. This practice of letting go is an essential part of the Buddhist path, as it enables us to break free from the cycle of craving and attachment that leads to suffering. Generosity and balance. It is important to note that generosity in the Buddhist context should not lead to self-sacrifice or burnout. Generosity arises from a place of inner peace and contentment, not from a place of obligation or guilt. True giving comes when we are centered and able to give without depleting our own energy. If we give from a place of exhaustion or resentment, we are not practicing true generosity. Instead, we are simply feeding the ego's desire to appear generous. Generosity is about creating a healthy balance between self-care and care for others. It is not about giving until we have nothing left to give. Rather, it is about giving from a place of abundance and inner peace, where the act of giving does not drain us, but replenishes us. When we give from this place, the cycle of giving and receiving becomes effortless, creating harmony both within ourselves and with the world around us. Releasing negative thoughts, a path to mental clarity and peace. Negative thoughts, whether they arise from self-doubt, anger, fear, or jealousy, are an ever-present challenge for many of us. In Buddhism, the mind is considered to be both the source of suffering and the source of liberation. Negative thoughts can cloud our perception, limit our potential, and perpetuate feelings of dissatisfaction and unhappiness. However, Buddhism also offers a transformative path for dealing with these negative thoughts. By learning to release them, we can create space for peace, clarity, and wisdom. The power of mindfulness in releasing negative thoughts. The first step in releasing negative thoughts is to become aware of them. Negative thoughts often arise automatically, without our conscious awareness. They can be subtle, like the inner critic telling us that we're not good enough, or more intense, such as feelings of anger or resentment toward others. In Buddhism, The practice of mindfulness is central to breaking free from the grip of negative thoughts. Mindfulness teaches us to observe our thoughts as they arise, without judgment or attachment. This means acknowledging negative thoughts without allowing them to define us or dictate our emotional state. When you notice negative thoughts, simply observe them, recognize them for what they are, passing mental events, and then let them go. It's like watching clouds float across the sky. They come and go, but you don't have to be caught up in them. Understanding thoughts as impermanent. One of the core teachings of Buddhism is the impermanence of all things, and this includes our thoughts. Just because a negative thought arises in our mind doesn't mean it is true or permanent. Thoughts are fleeting and often influenced by our emotions, past experiences, or external circumstances. They do not define us. By practicing mindfulness, we learn to see thoughts for what they are, impermanent mental phenomena that have no inherent power unless we give them attention and significance. In this way, mindfulness helps us detach from the negative thoughts that arise rather than identifying with them. This is liberating because it allows us to recognize that we have the power to choose how we respond to our thoughts. Rather than being controlled by them, we can let them pass and return to a more peaceful and balanced state of mind. Replacing negative thoughts with positive ones. Releasing negative thoughts does not mean ignoring or suppressing them. It means acknowledging them and then shifting our focus to more positive, constructive, and supportive thoughts. For example, if we catch ourselves thinking, "I'm not good enough," we can replace that thought with, "I am capable, I am worthy, and I am growing." In Buddhism, this practice is part of cultivating right thought, which is one of the components of the Noble Eightfold Path. Right thought involves nurturing thoughts that are aligned with wisdom, compassion, and non-harm. It's about consciously choosing to let go of thoughts that fuel fear, hatred, or jealousy, and instead cultivating thoughts that promote peace, understanding, and love. By adopting right thought, we begin to transform our minds from negative and limiting patterns to ones that support our well-being, growth, and inner peace. Meditation as a tool for releasing negative thoughts. One of the most effective tools for releasing negative thoughts is meditation. Meditation allows us to quiet the mind, create distance from our thoughts, and observe them without attachment. Regular meditation practice helps to create a mental space where we can observe negative thoughts with clarity without becoming consumed by them. As we meditate, we learn to respond to negative thoughts with greater equanimity. We begin to see that these thoughts are not permanent or definitive, and they do not have the power to shape our emotions or actions unless we allow them to. Over time, this practice of meditation builds mental resilience, making it easier to let go of negative thoughts when they arise. Letting go of limiting beliefs. Negative thoughts are often rooted in deeper limiting beliefs, beliefs that we hold about ourselves or the world. These beliefs may be based on past experiences, fears, or societal conditioning. In Buddhism, the practice of right understanding helps us to recognize and challenge these limiting beliefs. We come to see that these beliefs are not ultimate truths, but rather stories that we have been telling ourselves. By questioning these limiting beliefs and reframing our perspective, we can release the hold they have over us. As we let go of these beliefs, we create space for new, more empowering thoughts to emerge. This process of mental liberation is at the heart of the Buddhist path, as it leads us toward greater freedom, peace, and self-realization. Conclusion: generosity and releasing. Negative thoughts as pathways to liberation. Generosity and the release of negative thoughts are not just practices in Buddhism. They are transformative ways of being that lead us to a deeper understanding of ourselves and the world around us. By practicing generosity without expectation, we let go of attachment, cultivate compassion, and create a sense of abundance in our lives. By releasing negative thoughts through mindfulness, we free ourselves from the grip of suffering and create space for peace, clarity, and wisdom. Together, these practices offer a powerful path towards spiritual growth and liberation. They teach us to move beyond the ego's desires, to cultivate a heart full of compassion and selflessness, and to live with greater awareness and presence. Through generosity and the release of negative thoughts, we find a profound sense of inner peace that ripples out into the world, creating harmony, connection, and joy for all beings. 9. Develop a daily meditation practice. Meditation in Buddhism, a path to clarity, peace, and insight. Meditation is a cornerstone of Buddhist practice and is considered one of the most transformative habits you can develop on the spiritual path. It offers a way to quiet the mind, observe thoughts without attachment, and cultivate a deep connection with your true self. Through meditation, you can create a space of mindfulness and awareness where you can engage with life more consciously, respond with clarity, and foster inner peace. This practice goes beyond simple relaxation. It serves as a profound tool for personal transformation, mental discipline, and spiritual awakening. In Buddhism, meditation is viewed as a way to train the mind, cultivate insight, and eliminate the root causes of suffering. Whether through mindfulness meditation, loving kindness, metta, or insight, vipassana, each form of meditation is a gateway to greater wisdom, compassion, and understanding of the nature of reality. The role of meditation in cultivating mindfulness. Meditation is often closely associated with the practice of mindfulness, which in Buddhism is defined as the quality of being fully present in the moment without judgment. The goal of mindfulness meditation is to create a deep awareness of the present moment, allowing you to observe your thoughts, feelings, and bodily sensations without becoming attached to them. In doing so, you begin to see that your thoughts are not who you are. They are merely passing mental events. This realization helps you detach from the constant chatter of the mind and experience life more fully. The practice of mindfulness meditation typically begins with sitting quietly, focusing on your breath, and observing whatever arises in your mind. At first, this may sound simple, but it can be challenging. The mind is often full of distractions, worries, desires, and attachments, and it can feel nearly impossible to silence. Meditation teaches you not to suppress or judge these thoughts, but rather to notice them, observe them, and allow them to pass naturally. Through this process, you develop the ability to create space between your thoughts and reactions. In everyday life, we often react automatically to situations, whether it's frustration, anger, anxiety, or excitement. These reactions are conditioned by our habitual ways of thinking and feeling. Meditation creates a buffer between stimulus and response, allowing you to respond with greater calmness, clarity, and wisdom. Over time, you cultivate the ability to act mindfully rather than react impulsively to whatever life presents. Reducing stress through meditation. One of the most immediate benefits of meditation is its ability to reduce stress. Meditation activates the body's relaxation response, which counteracts the stress response. When you meditate, the body's parasympathetic nervous system is engaged, lowering levels of cortisol, the stress hormone, while promoting a sense of calm and tranquility. As you continue a regular meditation practice, you begin to rewire the brain, making you less reactive to stress and better able to navigate difficult situations. The Buddha taught that suffering arises from attachment and craving. whether it's the craving for things to be different or the attachment to outcomes. Meditation helps you step back from the cycle of craving and attachment, fostering acceptance of the present moment as it is. The physical and emotional sensations of stress may still arise during meditation, but you learn to observe them without becoming overwhelmed. Instead of being swept up by stress, you become the observer, able to notice and experience these sensations without identifying with them. This awareness allows you to break the cycle of stress rather than perpetuate it, leading to greater peace and resilience. Self-awareness and the non-attachment to thoughts. In Buddhist meditation, there is a strong emphasis on cultivating deep self-awareness. As you sit in meditation, you begin to notice the patterns of your thoughts, emotions, and even physical sensations. Meditation is not about controlling or suppressing these experiences, but rather about observing them with equanimity and non-attachment. This act of observing creates space between you and your thoughts, allowing you to detach from the belief that you are your thoughts. This non-attachment to thoughts is crucial in Buddhism. The Buddha taught that the mind is like a wild elephant, untamed and often out of control. Without discipline, the mind runs wild, creating confusion and suffering. Meditation is the tool that helps you tame this wild elephant. With consistent practice, you learn to focus your attention more effectively, developing mental discipline and clarity. Through meditation, you come to realize that your thoughts are impermanent. They arise and pass away like clouds in the sky. Just as the weather changes, your thoughts change. Sometimes they are calm, sometimes they are stormy, but they are never permanent. By seeing thoughts in this way, you no longer cling to them or allow them to dictate your emotional state. Instead, you become a neutral observer, watching the thoughts come and go without attachment. Meditation and the cultivation of loving kindness, metta. In addition to mindfulness, another central meditation practice in Buddhism is loving kindness meditation, or metta. Metta is a form of meditation designed to cultivate compassion and love, starting with yourself and gradually extending it to others. It is a practice of opening your heart and cultivating a deep sense of interconnectedness with all beings. In metta meditation, you begin by silently repeating phrases such as, "May I be happy," "May I be healthy," "May I live with ease." Once you've extended these well wishes to yourself, you gradually extend them to others. First, to loved ones, then to friends, acquaintances, and eventually to those with whom you may have difficulty, even to those you may harbor resentment toward. Through this practice, you open your heart to all beings, understanding that everyone, like you, seeks happiness, freedom from suffering, and peace. Metta meditation transforms your practice from one of self-awareness to one of selflessness. It nurtures an attitude of goodwill and compassion, not only for those you love, but also for strangers and even adversaries. The more you practice loving kindness, the more you cultivate a deep sense of interconnectedness, realizing that all beings are interconnected and deserving of love and kindness. This is a powerful antidote to the ego's desire for separation and division. Insight meditation, vipassana, gaining insight into the true nature of reality. Another key meditation practice in Buddhism is insight meditation, or vipassana. Vipassana meditation is aimed at gaining deep insight into the true nature of reality. Through vipassana, you observe the impermanent, interconnected, and empty nature of all phenomena, including your own thoughts, emotions, and physical sensations. In vipassana meditation, you practice observing the sensations in your body, your breath, and your thoughts. You do not react to them. Rather, you simply observe their arising and passing away. This practice helps you understand that everything is in a constant state of flux. What seems solid and permanent your thoughts, your body, your emotions, is in fact impermanent, fleeting, and ever-changing. This realization of impermanence is liberating because it helps you let go of attachment. The Buddha taught that clinging to anything, whether it's material possessions, emotions, or relationships, leads to suffering. Vipassana meditation helps you see that clinging to any experience or object as permanent is a cause of suffering. When you understand the impermanence of all things, you develop the ability to let go of attachments and experience life with greater equanimity. Additionally, insight meditation helps to deepen your understanding of the interdependent nature of reality. Everything is connected, and nothing exists in isolation. This realization fosters a sense of compassion and empathy as you come to see that the suffering of others is not separate from your own. By practicing insight meditation, you begin to gain a deeper understanding of the nature of existence and your role within the larger web of life. Conclusion: meditation as a tool for transformation and liberation. Meditation, in its many forms, is an essential tool on the Buddhist path to self-awareness, inner peace, and liberation. Whether practicing mindfulness, loving kindness, or insight meditation, each form offers unique benefits that work together to deepen your understanding of yourself and the nature of reality. Meditation helps you cultivate mental discipline, reduce stress, and create space between thoughts and reactions, leading to greater clarity and wisdom. Through consistent meditation practice, you learn to quiet the mind, let go of attachments, and respond to life with greater calmness and compassion. As you continue on the path, you realize that meditation is not just an activity. It is a way of living mindfully, with presence, awareness, and a heart open to the interconnectedness of all beings. Meditation is the key to understanding the impermanence of life, and through this understanding, you can free yourself from the cycle of craving and suffering. In this way, meditation becomes not only a path to personal peace, but also a way to cultivate a deeper sense of compassion, connection, and wisdom that can transform your life and the lives of those around you. 10. Cultivate patience. The virtue of patience in Buddhism, a path to peace, resilience, and growth. Patience is often seen as one of the most powerful virtues in Buddhist teachings. It is more than a simple act of waiting. It is a profound, dynamic practice that underpins much of Buddhist philosophy and spiritual development. In a world that encourages instant gratification, immediate results, and quick fixes, patience teaches us to endure difficulties with grace, trust the natural rhythm of life, and cultivate inner peace despite the inevitable challenges that arise. Patience helps us transform moments of struggle into opportunities for growth and mindfulness, enabling us to engage more meaningfully with ourselves and others. At its core, patience in Buddhism is not about passive resignation or idle waiting. Rather, it is an active, thoughtful, and intentional way of living that nurtures mindfulness, compassion, and wisdom. It allows us to handle life's inevitable discomforts, delays, and challenges without giving in to frustration, anger, or despair. Through patience, we learn to accept life as it is, understanding that each moment is part of a larger process of growth and transformation. The 3 types of patience. In Buddhist philosophy, patience is understood as an essential tool for overcoming suffering and cultivating wisdom. The Buddha identified 3 primary types of patience, each of which plays a critical role in spiritual development. These 3 types of patience are: 1. Patience with hardship. This is the ability to endure suffering, pain, or difficult situations without letting them disturb your inner peace. In life, we all face challenges, whether it is physical illness, emotional distress, financial difficulty, or interpersonal conflict. Patience with hardship allows us to face these situations with resilience and equanimity, accepting that suffering is a natural part of the human experience. Rather than resisting hardship or allowing it to overwhelm us, patience helps us navigate difficult moments without becoming attached to or defined by them. 2. Patience with others. This form of patience involves accepting the limitations and imperfections of those around us. It is the ability to understand that other people, like ourselves, are on their own journeys, shaped by their experiences, conditioning, and struggles. Practicing patience with others means responding to their actions with empathy, compassion, and understanding, rather than frustration, anger, or judgment. In relationships, patience allows us to be more forgiving and to respond with kindness, even when others may be challenging or difficult. 3. Patience with the truth. This refers to the ability to accept reality as it is, without resistance or denial. In Buddhism, one of the key teachings is the impermanent, interconnected, and ever-changing nature of all things. To be patient with the truth is to recognize that life is fluid and unpredictable, and that trying to control or force outcomes only leads to suffering. Patience with the truth encourages us to surrender to the natural unfolding of life, trusting that everything is unfolding as it should, even when we do not fully understand it. Patience and the present moment. One of the central aspects of patience is its relationship with the present moment. In our fast-paced, goal-oriented society, we are often preoccupied with the future, focused on what's next, or striving to reach specific outcomes. We frequently rush through life, seeking the next achievement, success, or material possession, often overlooking the beauty and richness of the present. This rush to the future can create a sense of anxiety, dissatisfaction, and disconnection from the world around us. Patience, however, invites us to slow down and be fully present in the moment. It encourages us to appreciate the small, often overlooked moments of life. For instance, when we practice patience, we are more likely to savor a meal, enjoy a quiet moment of reflection, or truly engage with loved ones without distraction. By learning to be patient, we cultivate an appreciation for life's natural pace and the simple yet profound joys that are always available in the present moment. Tolerating discomfort and building resilience. Another crucial aspect of patience in Buddhism is the ability to tolerate discomfort without reacting impulsively. Life, by its nature, is full of challenges, discomforts, and painful situations. Whether emotional pain, physical discomfort, difficult circumstances, or conflict. In modern society, we are often conditioned to avoid discomfort at all costs, whether through distraction, consumption, or escape. However, Buddhism teaches that avoiding discomfort only perpetuates suffering. Patience, on the other hand, offers us a path to face discomfort directly, without letting it overwhelm or define us. When we encounter discomfort, patience allows us to sit with it, to observe it, and to let it pass naturally. Instead of reacting with impatience, frustration, or aversion, we learn to accept discomfort as part of the process of life. This doesn't mean passively resigning ourselves to suffering, but rather, it means accepting that life will inevitably include moments of discomfort, and that these moments do not need to be feared or resisted. Through this process, we develop resilience, an inner strength and stability that allows us to handle life's challenges with greater ease and less emotional turmoil. This quality of tolerance and resilience is essential for personal growth. Life's difficulties, when met with patience, become opportunities for transformation and self-discovery. By allowing ourselves to sit with discomfort, we build the strength to face more significant challenges with equanimity and clarity. Delayed gratification and the development of self-control. In a world that constantly promotes instant gratification, patience is the antidote to the impulse-driven culture we live in. Instant gratification encourages us to seek immediate rewards and pleasures, often without considering the long-term consequences. However, the Buddha's teachings emphasize the importance of delayed gratification, the ability to wait for the right time, to endure the necessary work, and to trust in the unfolding of life's process. Patience helps us resist the impulse to rush toward outcomes, whether that means waiting for a personal goal to materialize, resisting the urge for quick solutions to problems, or maintaining discipline and focus in the face of challenges. This kind of patience requires self-control, the ability to delay immediate rewards for the sake of long-term fulfillment. True success, whether in personal development, relationships, or spiritual growth, rarely comes overnight. It is through steady effort, consistent practice, and the ability to endure temporary discomfort that we achieve lasting change and fulfillment. Patience in relationships, compassion and understanding. Patience is also a cornerstone of healthy and compassionate relationships. In our interactions with others, patience helps us navigate differences, misunderstandings, and conflicts with grace and understanding. In Buddhist teachings, the cultivation of patience with others is closely tied to the development of compassion, recognizing that all beings are suffering and that each person has their own unique set of challenges, conditioning, and limitations. When we practice patience with others, we become more capable of listening deeply to their words and feelings, understanding their perspectives, and responding with empathy and kindness. Instead of reacting impulsively to perceived slights or frustrations, patience allows us to pause, reflect, and choose a more thoughtful and compassionate response. This not only fosters better communication, but also strengthens our relationships by building trust, respect, and mutual understanding. Patience in personal growth and spiritual development. Personal growth and spiritual development are processes that take time and require patience. In Buddhism, spiritual enlightenment is often likened to the gradual unfolding of a flower or the growth of a tree. It is not something that can be rushed, nor is it an achievement that can be gained through forceful striving. Spiritual growth unfolds naturally as we continue to practice, reflect, and integrate wisdom into our lives. This process requires dedication, perseverance, and, above all, patience. Patience with oneself is essential in this journey. We must resist the temptation to rush toward an idealized version of ourselves or to judge ourselves harshly for not being further along on the path. Patience allows us to honor where we are in the present moment, understanding that every step, no matter how small, contributes to our growth and transformation. In Buddhism, the process of self-discovery and enlightenment is not about achieving perfection, but about learning to accept ourselves as we are and trust that we are unfolding into the person we are meant to become. Trusting in the timing of life. A critical aspect of patience is trusting in the timing of life. Often we become frustrated when things do not happen according to our timeline. Goals take longer to achieve than we expect, relationships progress more slowly than we desire, or opportunities seem delayed. In these moments, impatience can arise, and we may feel anxious or disappointed. However, patience teaches us to trust that life has its own natural rhythm and pace. Instead of trying to force things to happen, patience allows us to surrender to the flow of life, trusting that what is meant for us will come when the time is right. This trust in the timing of life is deeply liberating because it frees us from the anxiety of controlling outcomes. We can accept that not everything is in our control, and we can rest in the knowledge that life's unfolding will take care of itself. Cultivating patience. Mindfulness as a practice. To cultivate patience, mindfulness is key. Mindfulness, the practice of being fully present and aware of our thoughts, feelings, and physical sensations, helps us become more conscious of our impulses and reactions. When we are mindful, we are better able to pause before reacting to difficult situations, to observe our discomfort without immediately acting on it, and to choose patience over impulsiveness. In practical terms, we can begin cultivating patience by setting small, intentional practices throughout our day. For example, when we are waiting in line, sitting in traffic, or experiencing a frustrating moment, we can use that time as an opportunity to practice patience. By taking a deep breath, focusing on the present moment, and reminding ourselves that patience is a choice, we can begin to recondition our response to life's inevitable delays and challenges. Conclusion: patience as a transformative practice. Patience is more than just an abstract virtue. It is a transformative practice that can help us navigate life's challenges with greater peace, resilience, and understanding. It is through patience that we learn to accept ourselves, others, and the unfolding of life's process with compassion and wisdom. By cultivating patience, we embrace the present moment, tolerate discomfort with grace, and trust in the natural rhythm of life. As we practice patience, we deepen our connection to the world around us, build more meaningful relationships, and create space for personal growth and spiritual development. Ultimately, patience allows us to live with a calm and composed mind, free from the anxiety of trying to control outcomes, and fully engaged in the beauty of the journey itself. Through the steady cultivation of patience, we discover a deeper sense of peace, both within ourselves and in our relationships with others. These 10 Buddhist habits are powerful tools for achieving self-mastery, inner peace, and personal growth. Each habit invites you to shift your perspective, embrace life's challenges, and cultivate a deeper awareness of yourself and the world around you. Whether it's focusing on what you can control, transforming obstacles into opportunities, or practicing mindfulness and compassion, these habits offer a path toward becoming a more balanced, resilient, and compassionate person. Remember, the journey toward personal transformation is not about perfection, but about continuous growth and learning. Every step, no matter how small, contributes to your evolution. So, which of these habits will you begin cultivating today? Is it mindfulness, patience, or loving kindness? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Let's inspire each other to grow and evolve on this shared journey. Thank you for joining me on this journey of personal growth and transformation through the wisdom of Buddhism.